Okay, hello everyone, welcome back. I am once again on my quest for material design in XAML and to get the 4.0 release done. And right now that means dealing with a bunch of the fairly old PRs that have conflicts and were never merged in and that kind of thing. So tonight will be a little bit of a lesson in Git, merging old PRs and dealing with merge conflicts when you've got highly disparate branches. So I think that's where we're going, and we're going to see how far we can get. So let's go ahead and dive in. For those people who are interested in one quick announcement that I will point out, um, Robert has very generously volunteered to help moderate a Discord channel. So somewhere up in that way, that corner, right there, it's about there. Um, I have set up a uh, Discord channel for anybody who is interested in dropping in. I'm fairly new to Discord, so be gentle. I've got enough stuff going on. It's somewhat difficult to always keep track of, but there is a Discord stream, and if people are interested in joining and chatting, um, I'm gonna give it a go and see what happens. So that's where that is at. So for anybody who is interested in, so if you do the Discord thing, there is the link. So like all of my links, I just subdomain them. Okay, back to milestone stuff. That button. There we go. So, this is the material design in XAML 4.0. I was tempted to kick it quick and just say there's 113 things in here. Why wait? Let's kick it out. But I also know I've got a bunch of these breaking API changes, and I'd kind of like to get I don't want to have a 5.0 release come right after the 4.0 release, so the goal is to get as many of these breaking changes in one shot as I can, and then away we go. So we're gonna start. I'm just picking on the old stuff. I'm gonna circle back to this one because this was a draft PR, and we're gonna jump up to here. So this one here is all around the snack bar, and specifically dealing with the duplicate snack bar messages. So the idea being that with the snack bar here, let's do this. I should actually open the solution. That would be a good idea. So this one, too many repos. Let's see. So there's the drawer host one that we did before. That guy merged. Everyone's happy. We'll jump back onto master and whoop, bring this guy over. So if we go ahead and launch the demo here, we'll make that a little bit bigger. Ready, set, go. Come on. Launch. So the snack bar is the sort of pop-up message that you'll often see at the bottom. To some people, they might know it as kind of like a toast icon, but within the material design spec, it's a little more specific than that. So if we go with snack bar, and specifically, so this is what they end up looking like. So I'm on the dark theme right now, just be aware. So the people are a little more used to seeing it as this guy here. So for example, whoop, little message comes up from the bottom, right? There's the snack bars can have an optional action button that you can act on them. But then these guys here, right? This is, and I'm just gonna clear off a couple of them, right? So you'll note this one shows the duplicate handling. So if we hit send, message 3, and after some period of time, because they automatically go down, and then duplicate, and you'll note we've got discard duplicates that goes away, and then start fresh and goodbye, right? So that's the intent with all of these guys here, is dealing with this. The problem is the API for this is a little sucky. Oh, and you can't really see the code. That would be a nice issue, to have this include arbitrary C# code. That we might add that at some point. Not right now. But it would be nice. It would be nice to have these things have links back into the repo. Oh, interesting. Just noticing the outline here seems to be going below the horizon line, which is interesting. Okay. So let's go and take a look. So the first thing with this PR, so this one is very old, right? So this is, I don't remember, February 22nd of 2020, right? So this is a fairly old one, and I had initially punted it for a while simply for the idea of this was involving breaking changes, and we weren't going to uh, necessarily bring this in right away. So the first thing I want to do is kind of take a look at exactly what this is. So one of the key changes in here is this rename from ignore duplicates to discard duplicates. So have it actually reflect a little bit more of what it's supposed to be. There's some nice unit tests here, which is great. I love seeing unit tests. These tests were written before the XAML test stuff was brought in, so there's some potential there. Let's see. Updates the documentation to match the new property change. And then the big change is right here. So I'll expand this out just a little bit. I don't think it's the enqueue method. I think it's slightly different. Yeah. So this pump async, right? So this is inside of the SnackBar message queue. So there's an important distinction between the SnackBar itself, which is the UI control, that little message thing that comes up, and the thing that actually makes the messages come up. Those are not one and the same, right? So the idea being that the SnackBar itself doesn't necessarily have a queue, and the queue handles actually just pushing messages into it. So there is all of that, and yeah, and that is how it works. So basically, the whole change in here is around this pump async message and the get snack bar message as well. And so there's a slight change to this queue item to make it public. I think I'm okay with that. It doesn't really bother me. And then this was another bit that was a little confusing before, right? Is this ignore duplicate versus always show? And the idea being that always show is a little bit more clear as to exactly what the intent was. The other thing is this brings in a reference to value tuple, and I think we're going to try and nix that because value tuple is built in for later versions of the framework, but we don't necessarily need it here. So we're going to see about doing this, and you'll note this has all of the packet stuff, which has since gone away. So this is the PR we're going for. So PR 1668. So let's jump in here and be big, get cracking. Okay, so let's drop down into here. Oh boy, I got a lot of remotes. Okay, so PR 1668. And oh, what is your problem? Oh, because I am both debugging and have it open. So one of the things to be aware of is, especially if you've got really disparate PRs, where a lot of files are going to be changing, just shut down Visual Studio. It likes to hold on to stuff. You don't want that. That's bad. That's bad. Okay, so let's jump here, and we're going to get a local check out of this guy. So I now have a improved duplicate handling. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all of these commits that are on this branch, highlight them all, so shift click all the way down, and then I am going to squash these into a single commit. So the idea here is I want to ultimately rebase this onto the master branch. And when you do a rebase, it ends up replaying every commit that was on the original branch on top of master. And the problem is if you've got a lot of kind of back and forth in those commits, you end up having to resolve conflicts, not necessarily multiple times, but kind of multiple times. And so it's usually much easier if you just have the end result, right? So we are going to then rebase this commit. So you'll note this is all, we're now just playing on my local branch, right? So nothing fancy. We can actually whack my drawer host now. That doesn't need to be there, and neither does the remote drawer host one, because that PR merged. Apparently I just forgot to clean up my branch when I was done. Okay, so what we want to do now is we've got, I don't know what I've got this guy here. I'm going to clean that up too. At some point I need to go through and clean up a bunch of my local branches because most of these look like they are dead and old. Okay, so now we are going to just, so we are on the improved duplicate handling branch, right? We can see it up here too. We are going to right click on master and rebase this branch onto master. So we will do this, and there should be conflicts. Lots of conflicts. Okay, so that was fun. So we'll go packet dependencies, and we know this guy we want deleted, right? So it shows that it was deleted on master but modified on our branch. We're going with the deletion. Same with this guy here. All of the packet files delete. We don't need them, and we know from looking at the PR before that this was just adding in the value tuple stuff. So that all goes away. Okay, we will start with the demo app. So this one here got updated to do pattern matching. And this guy here got changed up a little bit here. So let's see. I think what we want is I want the pattern matching stuff first. Right? But then I actually want this line here, but I want it in place of this line here. Right? I believe that's what I want. So I want to take this guy here, but I actually want to cut this and do the replacement there, I believe is the correct merge that we're looking for. So we're going to take that, save that guy off. Okay, so packet reference, this is another easy one, delete. Okay, so we're going to go with the Q item and start here. So what is the big change here? So on the master branch, we had pushed all of these things to be kind of stacked. And over here, what we have is, I think, the same parameter. So let's see, object content, time span duration. Oh, we've got nullable types in here too that are added. So I think what we're going to do, because the only change here is the change from ignore duplicate to always show. It's interesting that the default remained the same even though the meaning inverted. It's probably okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, but we're going to come down here and change this to always show. Wow. That was pretty cool how it figured out what I wanted right there. That's pretty slick, Get Kraken. I approve. And you'll note it's picked up that change there, so let's jump down to the next one. So this has ignored duplicates. Welcome back, Robert. I did announce the new Discord thing at the beginning, and you should see it scrolling right here at some point. Okay, so this guy has always show, and let's see, this guy has an is duplicate. I think we just blindly take everything on the right. I think is what we do. I see both. Sweet. I think we're going to take this whole thing on the right because at a bare minimum, the PR diff will make it easier. Because I think this is one of the only reasons why get hash code was being pulled in, but there are other ways we can handle that. But we'll take a look. So, and I think this one here, show message semaphore. Oh boy. So I think we're going to take both here because I'm not entirely clear where this one's being used. But once again, it'll be an opportunity for us to review the PR. Let's see. Ignore duplicate, discard duplicates. We definitely want this one. Okay, clear, and this is where it's going to get weird because now we've gotten ourselves into a situation where it thinks it wants to do that. And we really have a very disparate switch here. So I'm trying to look at what this is doing. So I think here we take this one. And I think we might just have to circle back on this because this is where we were originally using these weight handles, and I don't want to throw this away. But there is a change to the logic, and we might just have to go manually get that back. So let's see. This is start duration. That might be the easiest thing to do, is take master for some of these conflicts. Let's see here. So this guy here, followed then by this guy. Yeah, see, the problem is I want this, but I don't want this like that. So I think we're gonna resolve the conflict this way, with full knowledge that we've whacked this get SnackBar message and the logic from pump async, and we're just gonna circle back and pick those up in a minute. That conflict's resolved. That's one resolved. That one's resolved. Okay, so we'll save that. Continue rebase. And this should be the only step in the rebase because we only had a single commit, right? So we've taken our branch, squashed it into a single commit, rebase that on top of master, resolve the conflicts to the best of our abilities, and now we go and clean it up. For people who are interested, this is the PR in question that we're going to get updated and merged. So something. There is. Wonder why it's not linking to that. Huh. Interesting. Sorry, I'm just noticing some of my settings seem off. Just a heads up, Robert. Discord missing permissions. Interesting. I'll have to look at that. My thing that was syncing the chat into the Discord thing, Robert, appears to be broken. So, just a heads up. Might go check and see what I tweak. So I'm just marking off the stuff that I don't care about. Not the bot. Well, it may show up as a bot in Discord. I have Restream.io set to normally sync chat messages that come through out to all the channels. And by all the channels, I mean YouTube, Twitch, and Discord. And it's currently throwing an error at me every time I send a message saying Discord missing permissions. So I don't know what that means. Okay, but this is the diff that we're looking to bring in somewhat manually. So we'll start with the first and most obvious thing. First, we declare tab bankruptcy and close all, because that's what we do. Mountain Dew. And then we run the very first unit test, which says, I wonder if, maybe I just need to go and reconnect it, and so it can re-give itself whatever permissions it needs. I might do that. Okay, so this is where we're going to run into problems. So message queue, discard duplicates. This guy squawked, but this is fine. This error we ignore for the moment because this is coming from the demo app. So we're more interested in this one. So this is where the problem comes. Because ultimately, yep, that's the right one. Because ultimately this guy, so insert item. So what did we have here? So previously we had an item is duplicate. So let's look at our diff real quick and figure out, give it mod permission, then post a link and it should work. Okay, fine. You've convinced me. Mod role. So I gotta promote it. I need more something. Roll. Okay. I promoted it. This is a test. Hey! Thank you, Robert. Robert is my Discord master at the moment because he knows what, or I should say, he knows significantly more about it than I do. Which I've set the bar down here, below visibility. Okay, so what did we do on this guy? SnackBar message queue item. So we ended up adding this and dropping the is duplicate. So we dropped the is duplicate, and instead this guy used to contain it. Give me more Discord permissions. Okay, fine. That I think I know how to do because I did stuff. Though I'm not actually sure I can give you many more permissions. I thought I made the mod role an admin. I thought I checked the box to make it an admin. I could be wrong. Let's see here. We do done. Here, I'm just gonna. Well, I should hate to drag all this completely over because I don't know. I don't know exactly where is the button. That's not the button. That's not the button. I found it before. I know it's in here. Ah ha ha. Server settings. That sounds more right. Roles. Nope. Nope. You go away, Zoom. Manage server permissions. Where is that button? See, I got this. This is the one awesome thing about Discord is it knows when you turn on streaming mode and says, "Yeah, let's not accidentally like show everyone the bad stuff," which is wonderful. I don't know. So I thought I went here and I thought I went here. Sure. We'll turn that on too. Careful, you have unsaved changes. I know. We'll turn that on. Turn that on. See, I turned on the administrator one for the mod role. So I thought by turning this on, the manage server. You say that as though I should see it somewhere. Oh, did I just turn it on? In my list of manage server. Yes, see? Mod has managed server permissions now. So I think you have it. Oh, hang on. Oh, wait. No, I probably don't want people to be able to mention mods. That sounds like a bad option. That's the only thing that's off. But everything else is on. I think that's enough. Oh, you just turned it on. I can't remember what I did 3 seconds ago. That's a very long time. That's why I have Git, to remember what I've done. Okay, so I think what we want to do, you just need to save it now. Yes, picky. I think I did. There was a save button at the bottom and I clicked it. So I think give it a moment and it should show up. So previously we had the thing. I think what we can do is we can do the. I'm trying to remember how this works. So how did. So previously this guy was. Sorry, I'm just trying to understand. So before it was relying on doing equality between the next message and the last shown message. Whereas the previous code that we just changed, that was pushed into the, if I go back one, that was pushed into the item in this is duplicate. And is duplicate was defined as content or action content. I kind of... So this equality compare, I think this is better because this allows for a better comparison of this. It actually makes me wonder if this should just be a record and be done with it. What an interesting thought. That is an interesting thought, and this would be... Now remove the mod row from the button test. Okay. You assume I know what I'm doing here, though, Robert. Let's see. I whack the mod roll, and this is a test. And hey, it looks like it went out. You are awesome, Robert. Thank you. Yeah, I like this equals implementation. I think the concept of what we have back over here is just wrong. So, so how was this doing it? So this was eliminating it at queue time rather than display time. That is a subtle change. I think the way I want to handle this because I think what we're going to do is we're just going to add this is duplicate back, but we're going to change it up a little, change up its implementation. Not a lot. It can be public. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with this. So if, and rather than doing an expression body member, we're gonna spell this out. If always show, return false, right? That's the easy case. Otherwise, return equals value, right? Mountain Dew Night. Yes, tonight we are going with the Major Melon, which is their new one. The best way I can describe it is if you like the Jolly Rancher kind of artificial watermelon flavor. It's kind of like that with a twist of Mountain Dew. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay, so what do we got going on here? So action content. Let's see. So this, I think I just do this, and it makes it happy. So that for nullable reference types. This we can use better pattern matching since we've got the newer compiler. We'll put some curly braces around that. Yeah, was that limited edition voltage? That was when they had like the 3 flavors that they were like pitting against each other or something, if I remember right. There were some good ones in that. Okay, so we're gonna bring this in. So message expired. Is this being used anymore? Because this was a new one. Yeah, so this is now dead and gone. We're gonna get rid of that. We do need to implement get hash code. And I'm trying to remember. There's a hash code class, but I think it's new. Yeah, that's the problem. And this is leveraging value tuple. So the question is, do we bring in value tuple or not? I think we don't. only because I don't see, like, bringing... I either take an additional dependency on value tuple for the older net framework. Maybe that's okay. Ugh, I just hate... Ugh. Okay, so if... Oh, let's see. What is it? I thought it was always show, wasn't it? Isn't that what we called it? Oh, discard duplicates. So yeah, so if we're discarding duplicates and the item is a duplicate, we just bail. That makes sense. That makes sense. We're gonna put some curly braces in because this seems like an area that's ripe for failure. This isn't the old value tuple is the thing. This is the new value tuple. So, and the only reason I'm being hesitant is because it's going to be NuGet package changes, and I always hate dealing with those. And it largely boils down to the idea that right now, our NuGet packages are hard-coded with new spec files. So every time there's a change to this, I have to explain, like, I'm now managing this dependency. And I want to do this. I don't want to bring it in. I really would prefer to not take the part of the goal is to have as few dependencies as possible. And just to get the hash code implementation, yuck. That's what I have to say about that. Because you'll note it's there for net core. It's not there in old framework. And I'm wondering if we just roll a simple hash code implementation in order to get it. It almost feels better to just write the hash code method. Let me look. Let's see. I normally do mine the same way. Resharper has a good implementation for get hash code. And I usually just do it their way, and I can never remember their constant that they use. What was it, 397? Yeah, so let's do... So, but here's the other thing that I'm wondering, right? Man, it'd be really nice to do this as a record, right? Because I could do this, and then magically, right? I get hash code and equals all by for free. Right? And that's kind of magical. The only thing that's now weird the problem with record, right? And this is my one. Is it immutable? No. Well, so it's not. So this object is already immutable because it only contains. Oh, I guess it's not immutable. It has this. It's mostly immutable, but because I'm not using a positional record, so the positional records where you do the parens and start declaring stuff, all of these members are just straight up declared. Are just properties. The problem is with a record is the implementation that it's going to generate for me for equals and get hash code. Is going to use all the members. And you'll note, we really only want 2 of the members. And I'm trying to remember. Hang on one second. I think I got a link here. So there's some members of C# or some members of the record that you can override, but I don't think you can do the equals and the the value tuple. I think this is the link I want. So for those people interested, link there. And if people are interested in what the heck this repo is that I'm stealing from, view on GitHub. It's the C#9 folder inside of this repo. So there is a talk that Mark and I gave earlier this week to a user group down in Portland that will get posted on YouTube, hopefully in the not too distant future, and I will share that once it gets done. Let's see. Though it is, hang on one second. I think it might be there. You might be able to, if you watch the Spokane.net users group, it's very similar to that same talk, but I don't recall if that one's been posted yet either, which is exciting. Let me look. It has not. It has not, and there may have been recording things, but for people who are interested, it will be posted there. Let's see. So, hang on. I want to. It looks like you can override. Let's see. Yeah, so it does that. I get it. I want to change init only setters. We want to avoid the init keyword. Init keyword is bad. Well, let me phrase. It's bad if you want backwards compatibility. So let's go back in here and look. I believe if I just do override, right? What do you give me? Hash code. That ain't what I want. Yeah, I think we just abandoned the record because it's going to take more work to make the record work than to just roll the own hash code implementation. The only benefit it would be giving me at that point would be a 2-string implementation. That's sort of where I'm at on that. I think you just roll your own. Where did my, let's see. This guy here should show, I'm trying to remember, because it's something in the order of just like unchecked, generated quality members, blah 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 blah. The problem is most people's examples now use the hash code class, which is great if you're on newer versions of .NET. Which, yeah, I believe, so I'm going to do this from memory, but I think it's something like this. Like RV gets 397, right? Return RV, we should probably make that an int, right? And then it's something like, what is it? XOR equals content. Oh, this doesn't need to be null checked. Get hash code times 397. And I think it's something akin to this. And then it's like action content. Right? But that's null checked. Right? So we're gonna do one there, and we'll whatever. I guess actually 0 is just as good. Save on an instruction. But I believe it's something like that. I'm pretty sure that, and I'm having trouble finding an example of what they do, but it's something akin to that. I've gotten way too used to. Oh, here's an example on Stack Overflow. So it's pretty close. They result times 397 and XOR that with the other guy's hash code, which is slightly different. Okay. So RV times 397. That gets XOR'd. All right. And the whole idea with the 397 is it's just a large prime number. Because mathematicians somehow derived that, and this just becomes int there, and then we don't care, right? Mathematicians somehow figured out that that using large prime numbers somehow gives good distributions, and I trust people who do math better than me. So we'll go with something like that. Okay, so that drops the value tuple requirement, and we don't need to add it in as our dependency, which that makes me feel a little better. Okay, so do we compile now is the question. Uh-oh. One Mountain Dew already down. Don't worry. Got backup. Okay, does not have a parameter called ignore duplicate. Let's see here. That's because this got renamed to not that, always show. So how about always show? This should be renamed always show, and then we should change. It does give good distributions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that hypothesis like one of the, I'm going to blank on the name. There's certain math problems where there's a bounty of like $1 million for anyone who solves it, or something like that. So ignore duplicates was false. So this should default to true. But we should check, because we've just subtly changed is duplicate always show is false, right? We should invert that. I think the rest of them can remain the same. Millennium Problems from the Clay Institute. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. Little easy, simple math problems like these that people have been at for, well, decades at least. Okay, so I think that goes there. One has been solved. Oh, interesting. Which one got solved? Do you know? Did it say on that link and I was just too dumb to read it? Okay, so that cleans that up. We compile again. And I think everything just works. Okay, so let's start with the simple case. We are going to start by, I won't run all the tests, but I would like to run these tests to confirm that much works. We'll deal with the UI tests. Poincaré's conjecture was solved. Oh, interesting. Because I remember at one point going through and reading all of them. And I remember reading just enough to realize how insanely complicated they were. And I think that's where I went, yep, I'm glad smart people solve these. Okay, so we've got, well, the good news is we've got tests. The bad news is they're failing. And we may have just blown up. So let's see what's going on here. Apply to us most. Yeah, I'm familiar with the P versus NP one. Okay, so We'll start with a simple one. This is expected to throw an argument null. Is dupe did not throw an... Okay, should it? Because if this is expected to throw on null, we should probably declare it like this. But I think having... So, given that this is public and somebody could reference this by invoking it on an older version of a compiler, I think this is a reasonable test. I do think I'm going to go var ex here, right? And go assert equal, right? And I believe it was called value. Yep. And we'll just assert on the parameter name. Yeah. So asserting it throws an argument null exception. Sometimes I'll skip doing the parameter name validation when there's only one parameter because it's kind of hard to mess it up, but it's easy to forget to go and add this for extra ones. Because I've seen people where they do like, if either argument is null, just throw an argument null exception without a param name, and it's like, Okay, so this one here. Is duplicate with duplicate items returns true. Well, this is failing. So that's probably a problem. So we're creating two items. They have identical content, and is duplicate did not return true. Well, this seems like a very useful test to have. Okay. Well, let's just debug that beast and see how the heck I managed to mess up such a simple equality method. Oh. That's how. Right? Because always show is set. So we need to go back here. I think we changed the default around like that. Okay, let's flip that around and see if that makes all the difference, because I'm wondering if that'll clean up the other one too. We'll see. Nope. Always show is true because we changed this one. And now I think it passes. Right? Because if always show is true, boom. Okay. So that's better. Okay, so now let's go pick on the next ones. Let's see if cleaning those up fixed any of these. No. Okay, so we have invalid op. What is your problem? So let's see. SnackBar message queue must be created in a dispatcher thread. And we've got an issue here. Oh, last shown message isn't being set, but I don't think we actually need either of these anymore, because those were there around the old one. So that should clean up that warning, which is better. Oh, and we can, while we're in here, let's C#9ify all this stuff, because we don't need all of those things specified. Lots of typing, lots of typing, lots of typing. Okay. Oh, what did that just do? Oh, it new. Okay. So that cleans that all up. So this guy here is wanting a dispatcher, and it's not getting it. Howdy. The problem is I thought this was created on an STA thread. And I'm guessing that's not good enough to give me a dispatcher. I'm wondering if it might be yuck. So the change here is we have a bunch of tests that were previously not there, but these tests were written when the constructor wasn't doing this. Hey, no problem, Sunspire. I've actually, unfortunately, if you followed the repo for long, I used to be a lot more active and have, unfortunately, had a lot more things vying for my time, and so it's made it a little bit more difficult on me. But I do try to make sure that stuff gets going and to keep things moving forward. Right now, we are currently on a quest to fix the since I don't think everybody was here at the beginning. There's a 4.0 milestone that's sitting out on the repo that I had hoped to release like back in November. Clearly, since it's February, I missed my self-appointed deadline. And part of it is there's a couple old PRs in here that have been sitting around forever, and I'd really like to get them cleaned up and merged in because they contain breaking API changes, and this 4.0 release is a good opportunity to introduce breaking API changes. But this is really, really unfortunate because these guys are all blowing up here. So let's first clean up the naming. And I'm wondering if there's... So let's start with this, I think. If I move you down to here, right? Do that. And then do that. I think the constructor gets invoked differently for the STA fact. I don't think the constructor is part of this. I think only the method here. So we're going to give this a shot, but I'm not sure that'll be enough to give me a dispatcher. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Var dispatcher gets new. I think I can get away with just doing this, can't I? I think I can. It's been a little while since I've done straight up dispatcher work. Hello. Navigate. Sure, decompiled source sounds great. Oh, that's right. The constructor's protected or private, isn't it? Something in the back of my mind is saying yes. Dispatcher. That's right. You can't get at the constructor directly. There is static methods that are... It's like static factory. Current dispatcher from thread. Let's take a look. I don't know if this is actually even going to get me one. We will see. This is one of those cases where I'm half tempted to abandon these tests and just go write it in XAML test. That way I've got a full WPF stack. Oh, that actually works. Well, what do you know? Okay, so we can work around it this way then, because there's an overload to this guy here that just, it'll take in the dispatcher. So rather than doing that, we will just specify, let's see, time span from seconds 3, and let's see if we can get away with this. If we can push it back up to the constructor, that would be convenient. No, rename you back to that. So there's a naming conflict, which is great. And then we abuse the naming conflict to move it up and have it affect everyone. Okay, let's see if that gives us what we're looking for. Okay, so that gets better. Okay, perfect. So we've got a failing test, but let's rerun the whole thing now, because I think this is just a change in expectations from when this was written. Object reference not set to the instance of an object. So which method are you after? Get SnackBar message. If gets, let me look at this guy, because in general we shouldn't reflect in on these things. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, we just deleted that whole method. So this test is no longer necessary for a number of reasons. Okay, we're going to get rid of the regions too, because most of the time I don't feel like regions add a lot to the code. And in this case, I think they're adding noise rather than clarity. So let's see here. We've got nullable reference type warnings. That's fine. We'll circle back to those. Let's see. Where'd we go? Show me. I wish I could. I want these filters at nested levels is what I want. That would make me a little bit happier. If I could say get rid of all of those. Okay, so that got me closer. So let's see. This guy here. So this guy is expecting argument null exceptions on pretty much everything, but clearly it didn't throw that on some of these. So let's get all the way down to wherever the base level one is. Okay, so we've got, so it's only going to throw an argument null. I think this really should be an argument null exception as well. The problem is the subtle switch from argument null exception to argument exception. There is, and this is kind of a weird way to do it, but that's fine. The order of the param name versus the message is backwards. So on this one, it's message param name, and then on argument exception, it's param name message, or maybe I said that backwards. Argument null exception is param name message. Argument exception is message param name, which is all kinds of waddy. And because they're both string parameters, it's really easy to get them backwards, and unless you have tests, not catch it. Okay, so that fixes that. So that's, see, I like having tests. Tests make me feel warm and fuzzy, because once I get all these tests working, I know that this will work. So this threw an argument null exception. This is doing get SnackBar message. Okay, so hold on. We should get SnackBar message, discard duplicate queue. Okay, so this is trying to simulate, let's see, first item. So that goes like that, right? To get that to work. Nullable objects goes there. Okay, so we've got this issue here where it's trying to find get message. So what is it doing with get message? It's trying to set the last shown at, and the issue being that when it enqueues items, this guy enqueues items in queue, all the way down into here. We should change this too, because clearly we didn't catch that in our test because of the generic catching the override, which is exciting. Let's just confirm param name message. That's what we want. SnackBar message queue item. So this is the issue: is it builds it up and puts it in, and then there's no way to know when it actually goes. So this is a little unfortunate. Yeah, and this is trying to do a bunch of timing related stuff. So what are we actually after? if the queue should ignore duplicate items. So the idea is we queue up 2 items that are dupes. And then we really want to confirm that it only shows A, B, and then goes, right? That's really all we're after. Okay, so let's rewrite this test. Because ultimately what we want to assert is that it shows the right stuff. So want to switch up tracks again? What do you got, Robert? I'm always happy. If you've got questions, well, I can't guarantee I have answers, but I've got opinions. Problem 26. Oh boy, what are you gonna nerd snipe me? Oh boy. So what is this? This is just something for fun. A unit fraction contains 1 in the numerator. The decimal representation of the unit fractions with denominators 2 through 10 are given. Okay? Where means as a 1-digit reoccurring cycle. Okay. So this means this is the reoccurring cycle, 142857. 6-digit recurrent cycle. Find the value of D less than. Oh. So you know how people like to ask interview questions and sometimes they throw brain problems at you like this? This is one of those problems where I know I've seen this before. So, is it Hamming code? I think that's there's certain algorithms for this where it's, and I might be getting this confused with something else. This is not quite what no, I'm getting something else confused. No, the Hamming code is used for the tree for like compression. Okay, so just thinking out loud then for a moment. The longest reoccurring cycle in its decimal fraction part. So ultimately, it's very easy to go through and get. Well, let me back up. So we can very easily in C# divide, 1 over x, where x ranges from 0 to 1,000, and get the decimal representation. The key thing there is after you get the decimal representation, you're going to get a string of numbers, and the question is, find for which contains the longest reoccurring cycle in its decimal fraction part. So we're looking for a value of D between, I'm going to say starting at 2 because that's where they did, from 2 to 1,000, that contains the longest reoccurring cycle, right? So if we were to say 2 to 10, the answer would be 7 because this is the longest reoccurring cycle, assuming I'm understanding this problem correctly. And so if we look at it just in this form, at the end of the day, you're going to just throw away everything above the decimal point and just grab the sequence of characters at the end. And we don't even care that these are numbers. Because really it's just saying, find me the sequence of the longest sequence of characters. Yeah, the length of the numbers. Well, but I don't necessarily know if it's the length of the numbers, right? The length of the reoccurring sequence, right? Because 1/3, the length of the reoccurring sequence is 1, whereas in 1/7, the length of the reoccurring sequence is 6, right? And so I think that's what it's asking for is the longest reoccurring cycle. So the length of the reoccurring sequence. So given a set, we're looking to find Yeah, length of the reoccurring sequence. We're looking to find A, what is the reoccurring sequence, and then just order it to find the longest possible one. Right? So the first question that comes out is, given a arbitrary sequence, right? How do you find the reoccurring subsequence within that? Right? And I'm trying to think of if there's an easy way to do that. I mean, obviously, so the simple option, 1 over 97 reoccurring sequence is, oh dear heavens. Oh dear. So I'm actually wondering now. That's not the answer, by the way. So I'm just gonna cheat with try.net real quick. I'm a little curious if let's see, console. Like, I'm curious what actually you end up with. So if I do decimal, right, 1 over 97. So, because I had sort of made an assumption that getting the sequence was going to be easy, but seeing the length of the number of decimal places that you have there, getting the sequence might not be that simple. Because in C#, even with decimal, you get 128 bits worth of accuracy, but it's not getting the sequence. So there's I guess a few problems boiled into this thing. One, getting the sequence, because a sufficient, like, this is easy, right? Because all of these will easily fit inside a decimal, right? Because if I do 1 over 7, right, and run it, right, we can find our sequence, right, and then just do, and it shows up. But I had kind of made the assumption that the longest reoccurring sequence would fit inside of a decimal. Based on what you just showed on 1 over 97, that may not be a fair assumption. Yeah, that's why I shared it. Yeah, so I think there's multiple problems boiled into this. So one, getting the sequence, right? And I think the way I would go about solving it is I'd probably do a finite state automata, an FSA for it. So I think I will talk through this. So the second half of the problem of find the longest reoccurring sequence, I imagine that the algorithm for that looks like get the next digit of get a digit of the sequence, append it to a string or a list or something to hold on to it, right? So get the next digit, append it to sequence, right? After you append a digit to the sequence, assuming starting with the second one, right? Compare it to the first one, right? And determine if how would you do that? Well, that doesn't quite work, does it? Because you need to go until the sequence breaks. The problem is 1/3, because I was imagining just going back, write a software solution, though. I know. I think I want to finish up that pull request, but this problem is interesting, and I'm trying to think through it. Because the idea being I would need to keep track. Initially, my thought was after you append it, go back and see if the first character starts with it, and then compare and make sure that you found a subsequence. The problem is the 1/3 example is confusing. I have another theory too, Robert. That's a 26. Oh. Okay, so that's a fizz buzz. Oh, so there literally are a bunch of these. Ah. Hundreds. Oh dear heavens. Oh dear heavens. Yeah, no, this one. Okay. I'm going to save this one too. I don't think I'm going to try and solve it tonight because I do want to get that PR merged, but I've solved. Oh, sure. Now you just want to watch me struggle. So one question I have for you, Robert, is this one of those problems where there's a particular mathematical, I'll say, shortcut, or is this literally an algorithmic based problem? I think it's algorithmically based. I don't know. I don't see how there would be a mathematical shortcut. I think it's just think of sequences. Okay. Okay. I'm going to save this because I'm always looking for stuff to do on the stream. And this is a likely candidate. So I'm going to put that there. Like I said, I'm going to circle back to that, but that's one of those problems that I could easily spend a bit of time thinking through. Okay, hang on. Rewind the brain. Get off of math for the moment. Okay, pull request. Something. It took me longer than I'd like to admit. That's normal, I think. Regardless of what programmers say, is there's a handful of programmers that excel at those types of problems, and they are a unique breed. And the rest of us, I think that's the longer than we'd like to admit is normal. There's been a couple times where Intelitech has done something similar where somebody's posted a problem like that and had people go and try and solve it. Yeah, and it was interesting to try and find them. There was one, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was you were given 4 digits and you had to find using just mathematical operators and I think modulus. You had to find the smallest equation to make those 4 digits, repeating as many times as you need, um, equal the numbers from 1 through 100. And it was interesting because you could always find a solution, but then the question was how to combine things with, like, if I make this an exponent and then add this other number. And I don't remember exactly what the digits were. There were solutions, but there was like 2 or 3 numbers where, like, I think most people eventually solved it and came up with a solution, but I think only 2 or 3 people only 2 or 3 people found the optimal solution. And that was one of the things that was nice, is even though you found a solution, everybody posts theirs and you try and figure out who had the shortest ones in each of them. Yeah, performance does become an issue. So my first solution for it, I am somewhat ashamed to admit, I went for the brute force approach, and I think I let it run overnight. Yeah, not the best solution. And it didn't find all the optimal solutions, but it found a solution. Okay, so this guy here, show next async. So really what I'm interested in is how does this thing work? And can I get this thing to just trigger automatically? And I think I can. So the other thing did fancy weird stuff, but I think I'm sort of curious if so on this test here, I enqueue all these, right? And I'm just going to do, let's go with async task, because this is quickly going to become a threading problem. I can see it now. Await, task, delay, 5 seconds. Right? I just want to see this thing go. And I'm curious what happens here. Specifically there. Because especially with that fake dispatcher, I don't know what it's going to do. I kind of suspect it's going to fall into this case. I suspect. I'm sorry, what? Do you have like, wait. What? So you did all of that. You did all of that. You hit dispatcher invoke. Like I realize this is effectively async void, right? It's locking, adding it to the linked list, and then saying, okay. So that gets invoked. F5. F5. I'm sorry, what? And then 5 seconds later, the thing passes. Huh. Yeah. Well, huh? Like, I sort of expected us to get into here. And then, like, one of these if conditions to fail, or I should say to pass, and us to bail out early. I kind of was anticipating that. Apparently, the dispatcher that this thing queues up. Hang on 1 second. Let's. All right, I'm gonna just do this. Let's see. Can I? So I can disable it, but I can't make it go? That doesn't seem very helpful. Disable. Huh. Okay. That's not a good thing. I'm kind of curious to look at it right here then. Or I guess I could catch it in. I'll catch it here and look at the dispatcher. I'm somewhat wondering if it's already been like shut down or similar, or it's just had its processing disabled. So not shut down. It is an STA thread. It is alive. Like, the thing exists. Sounds good, Robert. Hey, thank you for your help. I do appreciate it, by the way. Nothing there. Let's change this up a little bit. I'm wondering if this is because it's an invoke async. given that we're firing and forgetting, I sort of let's see here. Oh, and this wants to, fine, you can wrap it up. It's quickly going to get weird. Debug. I'm really kind of confused. Sorry, what? Did I hit run? Oh, I don't have a breakpoint here. So let's try this again. Let's turn this breakpoint off, and I kind of want to grab it there instead. So it's never... Okay, so this guy is somewhat worthless. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. We can go back to what works, right? The question then is the best way to go about doing this, and I kind of think what we might do is we might just add an API for this. Because I think I'm kind of okay with this. Because I could see somebody wanting to view these things. So I read-only list, right? Let's see. QUEUE. So I think we do this, right? We'll do an expression-bodied member, and then SnackBar messages. But we probably shouldn't do. Is that going to be a problem? Because this is accessed outside of a lock. I think we actually want to make sure we lock on this, because that will be messages lock. Why are we locking on a separate object? I guess maybe to prevent any sort of problem. Okay, so what is your... So you're happy again. All right, because that's... Yeah. So let's go back here to the test, and then this test becomes significantly simpler, right? So var messages gets SnackBar message queue, queued messages, right? And we'll get rid of the var there. I really wish you would not do that. Okay. And then now we assert. So assert equal to, right? So we will do that. And then we will do some assertions on the content. So the easiest assertion is that the first one should have that as its content message, right? So messages sub0.content, And then we'll do the action content as well, which should just be that. Oh, that's simple enough. And then duplicate all this over for the next message, right? And I think this makes the test significantly easier. So this is just different. And then how about, oh, that's fine. So run test. Oh, and we can make this a void. And then we get rid of all this. That's a little bit cleaner. Excellent. So now it's no longer an assertless test, and it passes. So that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Okay. So down here, what do we got? So A, that needs to be nullable object. And then you are unhappy because you are trying to invoke a message. So if the queue simply outputs items. So I think this is the opposite of this guy, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to explicitly set, I think we want to explicitly set this guy down here to be false. And let's see, this guy is going to just queue, and this is just doing an assertion on this, but I think what we actually want is something more akin to this. All right, we want to enqueue the items. We want to get the item back out. We want to assert that the content matches, and we want to assert that the action content matches. And then that goes away. And I think that now works. And we did get rid of the reflections, because in general, reflection tests are somewhat fraught with peril. Okay, cool. So I think that means that all of our unit tests now pass. So let's just confirm that the unit test passed, and then we'll test it and then merge it, I think. Let's see where that goes. Okay, so that gives me a pretty high degree of confidence. The only difference between these top two tests is one targets net framework, one targets net 5. In theory, I should probably have like a net core 3.1 in the middle, but there's not enough changes that... Huh? What? Oh, that's right. There is some failing tests under the net 5.1 under local setup. Oh, I forgot about this. This is a problem I need to circle back and look at. Is there's some, this is based on localization, and the pipelines are going to run in a very universal locale unspecific one, and so there's a couple of these that fail locally due to my locale, and I need to track down what is going on. But the key part is they pass in the pipeline, so we're not going to worry about them for the moment, because it's only under net 5 and only under my locale, which is exciting. I'm sure they made the API better, but the key part here is it's different. It's not the same as net 4 or net framework. And probably a compelling reason why I should have these unit tests running in net core 3.1 too, which would not be that difficult to add. Maybe we should add it. Fine, I convinced myself. You will see the difficulty. Net core app 3.1. Done. And that is how hard it is to add unit tests, and multi-target. It should just tell it all the targets you want it to run. The problem is I've now increased my unit test execution time by like 33%. And then we got to clean the solution and then rebuild. Yeah, and you'll note here in a minute, it will find all the tests, it will build all the tests, and it will work. And then magically, we will end up with a bunch of tests. I am curious now about that localization issue on the time picker, if it is only net 5 or if it's something that changed with net core. I kind of have a hunch it's net 5, but we will see. And then we will promptly ignore it and go back to actually getting this thing merged. But I want to see these tests pass, and then I want to see the demo app work. And then that should be good enough for me. One set of passing tests. 2 fails. I'm going to go with 3 fails, and they're all going to be in that time picker. Oh, and the calendar format one. Okay. But does netcore 3.1 pass or fail? Great. So this is a net 5 change. Awesome. I just love those. I love those so very much. Sigh. So I have a net 5 localization issue to chase down at some point. Not a problem now. Okay, let's fire up the demo app and we will see where it goes. It does also make me suspect that if you switch your app from 3.1 to net 5, you may have localization issues to chase. So that's exciting. Okay, so let's scroll this guy to the right, because this is ultimately the one that I'm most interested in. Right, the one about discard duplicates. I think we should change the text on that too. Message 3, I should see a duplicate. Great, next. Start fresh, perfect. And then we're going to turn that off. Clear, yeah. Send it, message 3, and now I should see duplicate, 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 duplicate. Huzzah. So I'm going to say looks to be working as designed, which is great, which was kind of expected with all of the test passing. So that looks good to me. Let's jump back to repo. We are going to update. Let's see, stage all updates after rebase and commit changes. I think we're going to push. I'm a little hesitant to push straight to the original branch because I don't really want to lose it. So what we're going to do is we're going to push a different branch up here. Right? And then I'm curious, I need to go back and find, because I don't want to take away, I want to change the author on this. There's a way to set multiple authors. GitHub commit with multiple authors, because by adding more co-author traits to the commit message. That's what I want, because I want to make sure that the original guy gets credit too. We wrote this together, yay. Add co-authors. Yeah, but there's a way. You can use GitHub Desktop to do it on the command line. That'll work. co-authored by name. Got it. So that's what I want to do. I want to add that. So we want to go here, and I want to add this. Oh. Okay, 1 second. I got to make this smaller so I can see what I'm doing. Oh, and there's no way to make the box bigger. Cancel reword. That is really obnoxious. Get cracking. I would like to. Apparently, I was going to add it at the top, but I guess I'm adding it at the bottom. Okay, so back to the PRs. This one. Let's see here. Let's see, view pull request. Because I need to add in this. I'm trying to remember, does it need an at? Co-authored by creating co-authored and missed by GitHub. I don't know how to do the name at part, so we're going to do that though. Update message. That did not get me what I wanted. So I kind of want to go back to the original PR then. Foo. Jump me backwards. Close Visual Studio because I'm sure you're about to freak out. And I want to look at this commit. How do I view authorship information? I just want that is definitely not what we were going for, but let's see here. What did you do? This is the commit that I want it to look like. Cancel reword. So how about we just set upstream and push this beast? I'm going to put this back on my repo and call it foo. Sounds great. And then let's go and look at what the heck it just did. Because I know there is a way to get this information, and I just don't know what it is. Let's see. Material Design Toolkit. I would like to look at view all branches. I'm sorry, did I not push that? Push. Show me my branch. There we go. And then show me the commit on the branch. Let's see, commits. Let's see here. How do I just want to look at how the heck this was done. You are not helpful. So let's try see, that's what I was looking for. That right there. That's, I think, what I want is, I believe, yeah, that's the information. Okay, so back to here, back to here. Switch branches. Thank you. I don't know what you're doing. Discard all changes, throw those away. I'm sure you're trying to be helpful. Okay, so we wanted to go down here and change this to be that update message. And then push that. And now we go and check it on GitHub. Give me this, give me this. Did it seriously push it as foo on the upstream? I don't see it called foo. I see it called. Oh, this is the wrong. Okay. Yeah, new pull request. I understand it's on the thingy and you're confused. I get it. I get it. Okay, this should hopefully show up with the appropriate commits. So let's see here. Yeah, so it shows 2 authors now. That's what we wanted. Okay, so on the demo, discard duplicates got changed. That's what we expect. We added additional unit testing for Netcore 3.1. Great. We cleaned up some unit tests, changed the name, changed that. That's fine. SnackBar message queue tests, those all pass. We're happy there. We cleaned these up to C#90 them with target type new expressions. We added a new API to view the queued messages. Great. Not sure I overly like the lock, but I think it's necessary and should never be held for long periods of time anyway. And then discard duplicates. Yep. And it's going to default to false, so it will show everything you feed in. We changed the exception type. That's great. This is still the same. We just added curly braces to it. No, we didn't. We embedded it on the same line. This one we added curly braces to. We made the class public, just fine. Always show. That guy there. Last time the message was shown. Is this last shown at being used? Don't save. That's why we were getting weird stuff. Let me reopen that. I'm curious if that last shown at is actually being consumed. I don't think it is anymore. I think this is legacy leftover from when we used to do time-based stuff with the SnackBar message queue, and I think it might be worthless. Let's see. Come on. Come on, Visual Studio. You can do it. I promise. SnackBar message queue item. That one. Is this being used anywhere? Find all references. Nope. Perfect. So we'll push that here in just a second. Actually, let's just push it now. Let's see. Moving. Last shown at. Commit. Push. Which means if I believe if I just refresh this. Excuse me. If I check this guy here, he's now gone. Great. We've got our equals implementation. Great. Hash code. I'll check. Okay, so I believe this is what we want. Let's see, create pull request. Let's see, we will dump this in the 4.0 milestone, create, and we're going to add some text to it here in just a second. Once I get the P, actually, I guess I can grab it here. So 1668. Let's see, so we're going to change edit. This supersedes 1668. Boom. Commit, and we've got that, and we're going to let the build system have its way, and then handle by 2240. Let's see, is resolved by 2240. Close the comment, and that will drop that. Okay, so I think we are getting very, very close, and this may be handled. Yeah, this was done already. So let's see, closed by 2221. Close the comment. Look at that. We're just gonna drop everything today. Okay, so what does that leave us down to? We've got the breaking changes doc here and text field character counter. We are just about at time, and I'm running on a low amount of sleep, so we are probably going to wrap up at the 2-hour mark, but this release is getting very, very close. So this is implementing this guy down here. Yeah, so this might be this is going to be a little bit bigger change to do, but I'm curious what we will probably take a swing at this because I'm curious. I'd like to get this in. Yeah, this I think. Yeah. I want to take a look at the uh-oh. Build failed after 1 minute. That doesn't sound good. Oh. Oh, look at that. SnackBar message queue item. Oh, I apparently ignored some build warnings. So one thing that I have done is I have turned on warnings as errors in the pipeline. This is all kinds of, nope, I am on the right spot. We're just going to clear, and so oftentimes when you get those, you just need, it occurs when you've got a multi-targeted project and you change branches, and Visual Studio gets all kinds of confused. What is the actual error? Package. What? I'm sorry, what? We were just... you were just building a moment ago. Let's try this again. Close, and more importantly, let's try this. Get clean dfx, which is a great way to lose work, by the way. But given that I don't have any pending changes and I've pushed everything, I believe I just need to change okay. So I've got two warnings that both need to be addressed, and this looks like probably nullability on an equals method, I'm guessing, and then a unused method parameter, which is great. Let's build, and then in theory there should be build warnings that occur on here. And just in the interest of letting people easily contribute back, especially if people aren't familiar with nullable reference types, I leave them as warnings for local builds, but if you don't address them, they will show up in the pipeline and be very, very unhappy. So don't care about those, don't care about those. This is the one we care about. So this guy here is, that will address that one. And then this one here. So we have an expected set of items. What is passed in here? I think we just throw away this because this no longer makes sense given what we are doing. Right, because those are literally just duped from the other two parameters. So if we ever needed the array, we'll just use them, but again, they match the other set, and I think we can just throw those away. Which means we can get rid of this, and we no longer have that warning. Let's go back here and do this. Stage all. Let's see, clean up build warnings. Because I figured that way, if the warnings don't necessarily produce errors locally, it hopefully makes it easier for people to compile locally if that's what they're wanting to do, or if they're wanting to just test out changes and see how things go. They don't need to worry about those warnings until it comes time to do a pull request. And even then, if you're unfamiliar with nullable reference types, still submit the pull request. I'm happy to help out. Just leave that little box checked to allow contributors to push back to your branch, please, because it makes my life a lot easier. I can certainly do like what we just did tonight and create my own branch, but it's much easier if I can just contribute back to your branch and we can work on the same pull request together. So I think I like most of this. And I kind of want to look at the material design spec for this. Because this is old enough that this may have been referencing the old material design spec. Character counter. So what happens if I go beyond the count? Does it stop me? So it just doesn't let me go beyond that. So that's a max length. And they just have an on-off. Whereas the one that we did, let's see, counter. I'm wondering if I'm kind of wondering if you just turn it on if a max length is set on the text box. But I could also see people wanting to set a max length without it necessarily being visible. I think what we do is we turn it on by default if you set the max length on the text box, but allow for an attached property to turn it back off. So if you want that combination of max length and the character counter hidden, you can still get there. Because this one has character counter visibility. And I'm not opposed to leaving this here, right? I'm just thinking that the default of this attached property is visible. And then if you don't like it, you can set it to collapsed, when focused, etc. But that will turn it on by default if a max length is set. Because that's probably, because the point of this library is to attempt to implement material design, and the guidance given here should be used if there is a character or word limit, right? So if there is a limit in WPF, that's the max length property, right? It should be used. That tells me on by default. So I'm thinking we go on by default, but this implementation used, yeah, so it had collapsed, when focused, visible. And I feel like I like the enum. That's fine. I am just wondering, again, I think the way I would do it is inside of the text box template as well, especially since the let's see, usage, blah blah blah. This guy here, you'll note it causes the whole thing to shift. So it's not an adorner, it's actually part of the layout. And if it's going to be part of the layout, I think it should be part of the controls template. Yeah, because this was done as part of the air template, and I don't think that's the way we want to go about it. Because this air template gets used in a variety of situations, and including non-text box stuff, and I don't think I would want to rely on a attached property to do it. I think I would want to say on a text box, kick this guy out. I think that makes the most sense. And just make sure that it works on both filled and outline. And away we go. Seems pretty simple. Pretty simple. Oh, this is kind of cool. I'm kind of just holding my breath for a moment, waiting for this thing to run, because I'd like to get this merged. And I like I said, I think I'm going to take another crack at implementing that, and I might end up doing that next week, or if I can get to it sooner. And then after that, I think we're just going to test with the latest package and see how things go. Usually what I do is I will rev my examples repo with some of the latest stuff and then see what breaks. So if I jump back here, for people who haven't seen it, actually I guess I can show it to you straight from the README. So on the README here, there is a bunch of stuff. And then this is a little old, but this guy here, There's a link in the See It in Action. And this thing here, I might... This is kind of an old one. I'm wondering if it would be helpful to add in a link to some of these YouTube videos or streams for people. There is sort of an implicit link, I believe, here to some blog posts, and then there's this if people want it, and that might be good enough. I somewhat try to separate the stuff that I do just for fun on this library from the official library stuff. Even though I'm the one maintaining the library, I do want there to be some knowledge of the separation there, because this is, for people who haven't seen it, there is quite a bit. Like if we look at the 3.2.0 release, you'll note the amount of stuff that went into here that was contributed by community members is significant. So I may be doing the reviews and merging this in, but a lot of the work that gets done here is from community members submitting pull requests and filing issues and that kind of thing. And so I do have a script that I run, and it's going to be quite large. But if you open an issue or submit a pull request that goes into a milestone, you get added to this list here. So again, huge thank you to everybody who does that. I don't know how big the list is going to be for the 4.0 release, but given that there's 115 items in here, it's gonna be big. Okay, so that check passed. That is what we want to see. So squash and merge. I don't know if this matters. Oh, we do want to label this with breaking API change. Because I want to start making sure I try to use those labels appropriately. If nothing else, it just helps me gen some release notes at the end of the day to say, hey, by the way, here's the breaking stuff that's coming in. We'll grab the latest icons. This will go here. Nope, not label, milestone. Because the icon change, I literally just check to make sure that the CI build passes, and if it passes, there's I almost am ready to write a little GitHub action that auto merges this every day, because there's not a lot needed. Did I see another PR in here around? Okay, sorry, I know I said I was going to probably sign off. Ability to change dialog host content background. Interesting. Content background. So a new dependency property on the dialog host defaults to white. We'll consider that. So what do we got going on here? We have pop-up EX. Content background. Interesting. Okay, so this is giving access. So that cleans that up. That cleans that up. That's great. I approve. I approve. Just ordering the values. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay. What I'm missing is why this needed to move up. So the fundamental issue was that there was no way to control the card. this seems like it might be problematic. Well, let's give this. So sorry, we're gonna quickly review this because and check out master. Yes. Dialogue background. Sure, sounds great. I have a sinking suspicion there's going to be a failure case around theming, but I'm not 100% sure. It's somewhat difficult to tell because of the formatting changes in here. So I think it'll be easier just to launch this guy and see what's going on. Okay, so let's go dialogues. This, yeah, that white is a little bit problematic. Yeah, and you'll note it doesn't apply to the embedded one. So, the question being, how to appropriately handle this. Because because the ask is still reasonable, right? There's a request to be able to control the background of the dialogue to an explicit color. The challenging part is doing that. Well, I will look at this a little bit later because, again, it is late for me. I think there's an answer around, and maybe I'll just check real quick. One last thing. I think there might be an answer in my examples repo. Let me just look. Because I've done a bunch of different ones here. Code behind, corner radius, bedded fill. Don't think this is it. Yeah, this is just stretching to fill the entire content. I suspect there's a way to do it with a combination of dialogue margin and just the background of the content. But there is potentially an issue if the card has any built-in margin itself. I could see that as being problematic. So it's probably worth exposing it, but I'm almost more likely to just expose a style property similar to what got done on the pop-up itself, and then let you control that. Because we could add in properties for every single little thing, and there probably should be properties for common things like brushes, and so that's where I'm kind of hemming and hawing on it. Is this a common enough thing to set to where there should be a direct dependency property? Or should this be something that you set via a style? Similar to like on a list box, right? Where you can set the foreground of your list box item by going through the container item style. That's typically the way I've approached the dialog host. I'll think on it. I'll think on it. The nice part is even if we do go to add that, that would be a backwards compatible change and doesn't need to make the 4.0 release. So it could be in a 4.1 release later after the fact. So we'll consider that and think through it. So with that, I'm going to tell everybody thank you for coming and hanging out. Happy coding, and we'll see everyone next time.